Hello, friends. Welcome back to She Thinks Big, the podcast, not the book. Do you have a copy of the book? If you don't have a copy of the She Thinks Big book, you need to go get one right now. You could go to shethinksbigthebook.com actually and get the link to the link on Amazon and all the other places that you can buy a hard copy or an ebook or an audiobook. Anyway, that really wasn't supposed to be part of this intro, but I decided to throw it in there anyhow since it came up in my brain. But here's what we're really going to talk about today. We have made it. We have made it to the fourth episode in this little mini series about role evolution. I'm kind of calling it. And if you are still here, I already know one thing about you. I know one thing, if you're still listening. You are a visionary in the making. I seem to attract these visionaries. Maybe you already are one, but you are still spending your days buried in email and wondering why you feel burnt out. Okay? And we all have these moments, but if it's happening more often than not, then really, truly listen in here, okay? Because this visionary role, this is the role that makes you CEO in both title and function. Okay, so think about that. There's the title of CEO, and then there's the function of CEO. And I think this is why so many women have this hard time calling themselves a CEO. If you're an owner of a small business, you may be part of this crowd too. You have a hard time calling yourself a CEO. Because you may not feel it equally in title and function. Okay? But this visionary role is what makes you CEO in both. But only if the roles underneath you are filled and functioning. So otherwise, your vision stays stuck in your head, or worse, in your inbox, if you don't have the other roles that we've talked about, or at least half of them that we've talked about in the previous 3 episodes filled. So today is really about stepping fully, with a capital Fully, okay, fully into that top role of visionary. That's the role that you are meant to be, the visionary. Okay, because without a visionary, a business plateaus. People lose motivation, ideas stagnate. You become a really efficient machine that's heading nowhere interesting. Okay? But with a strong, clear visionary, the sky is the limit. New ideas emerge. I'll call it, you're more capable to make pivots happen and do it boldly, right? Your growth can accelerate. The business becomes a movement, not just a machine. So let's talk about how to become the visionary that your business deserves. All right. So first off, let's define visionary. The visionary, I think, really sees what's next before anyone else does. And sometimes a coach plays this visionary role in your business if you are not yet there. Okay. Like when I do a vision into action intensive, sometimes I have to hold the vision as we turn it into action steps. I have to listen to what the leader or the founder of the business says, but then I help them formulate that vision because it's really hard sometimes. It's hard to go become friends with future you, as I call it. Okay. But the visionary is future focused, idea generating, mission driven. Right? The visionary doesn't manage tasks. She shapes the direction. So the visionary is the opportunity spotter, the industry, I'll call it industry translator. She's the one that takes the most risk. She's a big better. Okay. She's the what if asker. She's kind of the North Star holder. Okay. You've heard all of these expressions. And she's asking questions like, what's possible? What's no longer serving us? What does our client or customer need next that they don't even know to ask for? Where are we headed in 5 years? What needs to change now to get there? What bigger impact could we make if we thought differently? Okay. So think of visionary as the lighthouse, always scanning the horizon, like seeing the storms and the opportunities long before they arrive to shore. Last episode, we used an analogy, I think it was last episode, of the orchestra. I want you to think of this now as like the lighthouse. The visionary is the lighthouse. Okay. So I'm going to say that you have to literally make the decision and to be the visionary. I've had clients do this. There's no email, there's no meetings, there's just thinking and reading and exploring. And you might have visionary days where you can hold this visionary role while the rest of your business is kind of coming along and allowing you to be visionary 100% of the time. I want you to try to find days where you can have no email, no meetings, and it's just thinking and reading and exploring. Okay. It's one of those days where you have insight about combining some services or creating something new or how you might double your business in 6 months. A lot of the work we do at a retreat, part of the Runway to Freedom Mastermind, we have these 2 in-person retreats, and they're really visionary days where you are exploring and thinking. Okay. That's the power of protecting your visionary role. But it's hard to stay in the role, right? So that's why I said you might have days where you're in it, but maybe not all the days. Being that visionary, it takes space, it takes stillness, it takes creating some sort of strategic distance. But the world has a strong gravitational pull, right? It pulls you back into the weeds. Your inbox becomes full. Your client needs a last minute edit. A team member has a question. Your project management system or your CRM sends you an alert. And suddenly your vision gets really blurry. Okay. So I have a client who has, I'm going to call them $1 million ideas, but she has no time to execute them. She is too in the business to work on her business. And every time she starts thinking bigger, she gets yanked back into operations. And I think this has happened enough times now, and I have sort of pointed this out to her, that she now sets aside entire days for strategic planning. Okay. And I tell her on those days, you are not answering any emails. No, any emails, right? You need that day for strategic planning. And no matter what someone says on your team that they need you, it's a trap. Don't fall into their trap. Okay. You have to build your team structure that hones in your zone of genius. You have to protect, and I can help you do this. We've got to protect your calendar like it's gold. So with this client, we created some systems where others could handle, I'm going to call it like 90% of those complex issues, and they only bring her the truly unique ones. Okay. And when you do this, a spoiler alert, it pays off. Her business tripled in 18 months, not because she worked more, but because she finally had space to see around corners. Okay. Now, how do you stay there? I think here are a couple things that work. Okay. Number one, you need to protect your thinking time like a CEO protects their board meetings. Okay. You need to get religiously clear about what only you can do. You need to build a team you trust to run with the vision without your constant supervision. Okay. You need to create rituals that signal visionary mode, whether it's a specific location, a time of day, or even an outfit. Okay. You've got to fill your inputs with inspiration, not just information. And you have to say no a lot. So visionary work doesn't look busy. It looks quiet. It looks strategic. It looks focused. Sometimes it even looks like staring out the window or taking a walk or being part of a mastermind where we meet in person twice a year for 2 days where this is what you're doing. It's the most important role you'll ever play, and it's the most important time you'll ever spend on your business. Okay? I have a client who implements lighthouse hours, which means that 3 hours every Wednesday morning, she is completely unreachable. She will go to a coffee shop with no computer, just a notebook, and think about where her business is headed. And her team figured this out a little while ago and she felt was balking at it and said, "What if we need you?" But within a month, they adjusted. And within 6 months, those 3 hours were generating the most for her company and new growth opportunities. So when your visionary role is supported by the other roles we've talked about, the leader, manager, implementer, doer, that's when your CEO energy is fully activated. Okay? So let's pull this all together. Let's wrap this all up, this whole series, with a new big picture. Here's what the flow should look like. The visionary sets the vision and the priorities. The leader turns vision into direction, and I'm going to call it values. The manager creates the systems and the accountability. The implementer improves the how. The doer executes the what. So if you're still playing all 5 roles, no wonder you're tired. And the hard truth, you can't be an effective visionary if you're spending most of your day in doer or implementer mode. You can't set culture if you're drowning in management tasks. And you certainly can't scale if your systems rely solely on you. Okay, so it's time to really choose your seat and own it. And own it. Okay, if you're still packing every order personally, if you're doing errands, right? You're doing doer work that someone else could handle for $20 an hour. And if you're doing that, your visionary ideas, potentially worth millions, are sitting untapped. So I want you to reorganize and step fully into your visionary role. Because when you do, I have seen this, your business doesn't just grow, it kind of transforms. You spot partnership opportunities that lead to licensing deals worth more than your whole entire previous year's revenue. Okay? And that's what happens when you give your visionary brain room to breathe. So, here's your homework. Number 1, block off 1 hour on your calendar this week. No client calls, no meetings, just white space, and label it visionary time so it feels official. Okay? Then, number 2, ask yourself, what do I want to be thinking about in this hour? What big questions haven't I had time to consider? Okay? Third thing, I want you to identify one task you're doing that could be handled by someone in a different role, and then make a plan to transition it. Number 4, I want you to revisit your company's mission or purpose statement. Does it still light you up? And if not, how might you refresh it? Number 5, I want you to write your own visionary job description and see how much of it you're actually doing right now. Okay, so that's your homework. And if you're really ready to finally lead from the top, it starts with letting go of the bottom. You can't truly operate as CEO if you're also your own assistant, project manager, and implementer. I want to build the business that gives you space to lead, to dream, and scale. I want you to work together so that I can help you delegate with confidence, expand your team, and really stay in your visionary zone. That's where you belong. I want to help you do that. It's hard to do it alone. I can't do it alone for myself. I have help and support to help me stay more in that visionary role. Okay, head over to andreaslinks.com, book a call. You have nothing to lose. Let's make this thing happen. And thank you for joining me for this entire 4-part series. Remember, your CEO role really isn't something you earn later. It's a seat that you need to claim right now in title and function. And you do that by making sure all the other seats are filled. All right, friends, who else needs to hear this? Pass this episode and this mini series on to them. Okay, because 99% of female entrepreneurs are not playing that visionary role fully. And you would be helping them by sharing this info. So, as always, keep thinking big, because when you do, big things happen. I'll see you next time.